Welcome everybody to the very first 8 Talks of 2023. I'm really excited to welcome you to our amazing session on exploring Web3 and WebAR. We have a great lineup of speakers today who will be talking about the convergence of these two cutting edge technologies. So just moving forward is that at Niantic, we really believe that augmented reality is for everybody, especially with this topic of Web3 and WebAR. With Web3, when we peel back the layers of crypto, blockchain technologies, and NFTs, we really look at decentralized ownership. And then when we couple that with WebAR, the accessibility and massive reach, I believe that we can really learn what democracy in the metaverse will look like. And maybe with these two technologies, we can democratize how creators, developers, and artists use both of these tools. So moving forward, I want to give you guys some gentle reminders that we are recording. I would love for you guys to turn your cameras on, to mute yourselves when we allow you guys to. However, if you're uncomfortable, please turn off your cameras and mute yourselves. That's totally fine because this recording will be going on YouTube later on. And then please use the raise hand feature if you would like to participate. I would also like the speakers, when we have the panel chat later on, to use the raise hand feature if you would like to be the next person to speak. And as always, please keep the chat box alive. I love to see all of the engagement in there. It's amazing when you guys are really engaged and active in there. So just some announcements is that we have three events this month actually are coming up. In 2 weeks, we have a Beyond Reality session. So right now we're doing an 8 Talks session, which is geared around marketing and industry related to WebAR. However, the Beyond Reality sessions are going to be focused on business acumen. We've invited founder and CEO of Genius Ventures, Nav, to talk about how to connect and pitch to brands. And I hope you guys can join us for that. And then we'll also be in Austin at South by Southwest. We're going to be having a Niantic neighborhood. So if you guys will be at the industry event, please join us at the Niantic neighborhood.
Recording in progress.
We're in Austin and you don't have a ticket to South by Southwest, that's totally fine. We're going to have a off-site developer day workshop actually led by one of our partners here today, Subvrsive. So hope that we can see you guys here virtually, but we also want to meet you guys in real life in these upcoming events. And then moving forward into the agenda. So some of you guys may know that we had a Niantic presence at Miami Hack Week 2 weeks ago, and we've invited the Niantic winners to present their winning submission today. If you guys do not have your phones or devices ready, please grab them right now because they will be doing a live demo of their winning project. And I really want everybody to participate in this. It's a multiplayer shared AR experience. And then the panel speakers are going to introduce themselves, and then we will have a curated discussion around some selected questions around Web3 and WebAR. And then we're going to open up the Q&A to the entire audience. So talking about the Q&A, if you guys have your phones ready, you guys can scan this QR code. It's going to bring you to Slido, and that's where you guys will submit your questions. You guys can also upvote questions that you want to be answered. That's going to help me prioritize which questions to ask. However, we will have time where you guys can raise your hands, unmute yourself, and elaborate on questions or share some of your thoughts in the chat as well. So moving forward, I would love to invite Earth MMO, the Miami Hack Week Niantic House winners, to come talk about their winning submissions. So I'm going to invite Rowan to introduce his team.
Thank you very much, Chanel. So our team for Hack Week, myself and Thomas Vu, Earth MMO co-founders, came in and we built an experience called Wanted Grakthul. Thomas was the leader of the project and he's a full stack dev. Myself, Rowan Sommerfeld, I'm sales and marketing for the team. Thomas Thies was our 8th wall dev. Maria Lobanova was PR and marketing for us. And Joe Redmond was our other full stack dev. And I'm actually going to hand it to Thomas to talk about our demo and a bit of the 8th wall tech.
Which Thomas?
Thomas Vu.
Yeah, so this is what we did on stage at Miami Hack Week. Basically, we put up this QR code on stage and just encourage people to join the demo right away, because like with 8th wall, it's so easy to jump in and it's way better to just like experience it than to try to talk about it. So yeah, everyone, please jump in. We're going to kill Grakthul right now. He's really tough. we need everybody to join or it's going to take forever, basically.
Yeah, I just noticed we just got like
Oh,
40 people jumping on.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is live right now. This is our multiplayer demo. You're actually battling with everybody else currently in the Zoom call.
Yeah, so he's going down pretty fast. I actually have the server pulled up on the side here. I can see the messages flying past. At Miami Hack Week, we had like over 70 people in the room at the same time. I think we might have broken that record here. I'm not sure. But yeah. Oh, so
he's going down.
Yeah, he summoned a bunch. Oh wait, yeah, he summoned a bunch of goblin minions. Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Now you can see it on the screen now. There's 2 left. So he's almost done. Wow, this happened so fast. Finish him. Nice.
Whoa.
Great job, everybody.
Good job.
It didn't crash. It didn't crash.
That's awesome.
Awesome. That was
So
the
this is this demo that we worked on for the hackathon. We decided to do a multiplayer AFOL experience, somewhat like Pokemon raids, if you're familiar. So
Yeah, so after you kill him, you can basically connect your wallet and you'll get his staff as an NFT, the staff of Grakthul. You'll be able to use it in all of our future experiences. We'll talk a little bit more about our plans for the future. And there's also an Earth MMO Discord button. We'd love it if you guys could join that and kind of like help, kickstart our community here. It's at the top, Earth MMO Discord. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So that was our demo. We'll talk a bit more about.
Thank you very much, guys. That was awesome.
Yeah, I'm really glad it didn't crash. So the server is a champ. It's like a $5 DigitalOcean droplet, but it's just like chugging along. So yeah, this was our submission. We basically built this in like 4 days for Miami Hack Week, and we made a little video about it here that's playing in the background. We Wanted Grakthul is actually kind of a standalone experiment. It's part of this larger vision that we're building called Earth MMO. And Wanted Grakthul is sort of the first in a series of like experiments where we're trying to test out AR and eighth wall and see like, what's fun and like what can we bring into the full game when we eventually release it.
how we can push the tech to its limits. And we were actually really amazed we got this far in 4 days from what we started with. So definitely pushing the tech to its limits. Glad that we could be a part of the team and part of this hackathon and able to use this technology.
Yeah.
So another thing, you can expect more of this in the future. We are working on this. Thomas and myself, Thomas Vu full-time, but Thomas Thies, Joe Redmond, and Maria Lobanova are also interested in continuing the project with us even after Hack Week. So you guys should be seeing more of us in the future.
Yeah, in fact, we'll be at South by Southwest in March. Hopefully alongside Niantic, we'll be kind of in the same area. And yeah, I can give you guys kind of a bit of a teaser about what our plans for South by Southwest. We're doing another in the Wanted series. So instead of Grakthul, this time you'll be fighting Pyraxis. So the name of the experience is Wanted Pyraxis, and Pyraxis is going to be a dragon. So next in South by Southwest, if you want to be a dragon slayer, make sure you go there and check us out. It's Wanted Grakthul is basically like one combat encounter in Earth MMO. And for Wanted Pyraxis, we actually want to bring it into like a full day's worth of gameplay of Earth MMO. So hopefully we can grind it out and get it ready in time. And yeah, stay updated. Join our Discord. That's probably like the best place to keep in touch with us and all our progress updates. We've also got a Twitter, Wanted AR Game. And if you want to join our waitlist for our website, it's www.earthmmo.com. There's a
Twitter address is Wanted AR2.
No,
there is number 2.
I renamed it. Maria, I renamed it yesterday. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think it's Wanted AR Game. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We can take a few questions for Earth MMO. If anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a question, or type it in the chat and I can read it out for you. I just love seeing our community rewarded through these initiatives where we meet you guys at Hack Week, and then 2 weeks later, we have you presenting in front of our entire community, and then perhaps meeting us at industry events as well. I think that's really amazing. Let me see if there's any questions. I do have a question for you guys, I guess. What's been your biggest challenge so far after Hack Week?
That's a great question. I think it's sort of like porting over all of the hackathon code into like our kind of longer term code base, and like making sure it's all still working good. So, but that wasn't too bad. We ended up figuring out how to do it. So yeah,
to take what we kind of learned from the hackathon, and to we had 4 days to put it together, and then how do we take that and reapply it to our more stable concept, and how do we scale it too. So taking all those parts that we learned and putting them into our platform. So
yeah. Another difficulty was sort of like now that everyone's back home in their own time zone, like we have to sort of coordinate and find ways to like meet up, and we have like a developer who's in Europe as well, so it was a bit tricky to line up just like everybody in the same call, but we managed to figure it out. So now we're all on the same page again and ready.
Awesome. That's amazing. And then Felipe asked, what technology did you use for the multiplayer part?
We use just a standard Node backend with Socket.io.
Yeah, so for the hackathon, we were really crunched for time, and we had to do a lot of our own networking framework, actually. But it was built on top of Socket.io. And after the hackathon, I spent this last weekend and kind of all converted over to Socket.io. So it's Socket.io inside of eighth wall A-frame.
Cool, awesome. And we have one question from Slido, and then this will be the final questions. What were the main limitations you ran into when building the Wanted AR experience?
Time, I mean, was time was the biggest limitation for sure. We had a lot of stretch goals. I think we had like probably 10 or 15 stretch goals, and we had to like limit down to 3 stretch goals. And we kept trying to get as many as we possibly could in there. Originally, we knew kind of some limitations on memory around like iOS devices. So iOS Safari browser only has like 300 megabytes of memory allocated at a time. So we had to make sure that our polygon count wasn't too high for a scene.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. I know a lot of people on this call are probably also community developers hoping to find like-minded individuals to work on the next big thing, and you guys are serving as inspiration for them. So please join their Discord, follow them on Twitter, and I can't wait for the next activation of Wanted AR. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, any more questions we can definitely answer on the Discord too, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Also, if you are going to Austin for South by Southwest, drop a message in the chat, I guess. Will be interesting to see who's going.
Yep, thank you guys. So we're going to move forward to the panel chat now. So I don't know if all of you guys knew, but Miami Hack Week followed the same theme of Web3 and WebAR, and that's why we invited Earth MMO. But now we're going to invite some of our expert panel to talk about deeper questions related to both of these technologies. We have 2 members from Niantic's SpotX team, Jackson Harris and David Woodward, to talk about what Niantic is doing with Web3 and AR. And then we've also invited our premier partner from Subvrsive, Anthony Lauren, who is the VP of Engineering, to talk about what their immersive creative studio is doing with Web3 and AR for brands, marketing, and companies as well. So excited to have these 3 speakers today. I'm going to invite SpotX, Jackson Harris, to introduce his team.
Hey everyone, I'm Jackson, the SpotX team. Myself and David are two of the developers. We also have Tracy Levine, who is a UI, UX, and engineer at times on the team. Galina Penikevich is our primary ops person, handling all the admin roles, and then Chris Daniels is the one who is curating all of our marketing and comms. And together we formed similarly to the Wanted Greg Fool team a year ago at Miami Hack Week, and then took our experience that we built there to South by Southwest. So great to see someone else following a similar path, and looking forward to seeing what they're doing along their journey as well. So that's pretty much the team. And yeah, we are a research and development squad within Niantic. So figuring out, where does Web3 make sense in the larger context of real world metaverse gaming. With David's extensive background in AR, we've been able to leverage things not only 8th Wall, but also ARDK, and figuring out, how do we make blockchain, NFTs, crypto all make sense and also fun at the same time. So that's pretty much our charter and what we're doing. And part of that has been working with community developers and being a part of hackathons to make sure that the things that we're learning, it's a conversation, that we figure out ways to take the knowledge that we have and part that into the community and learn from you all as well. So that's a little bit about SpotX Games. Next slide. And we go back one more. Yeah, perfect. And just a little bit about our journey. Again, we started at Hack Week about a year ago, went to South by Southwest. And along the way, we went to the Lightship Summit, and that was our first, actually, our first 8 Ball experience was at South by last year. We continued and created another one called Mine at the Lightship Summit. We have now focused on a number of other AR experiments that Dave will go into in a second, but we've now also focused on partnering with existing IP within Niantic. So the Trading Post was our first crack at that, where we are leveraging the 10-year-old IP of Ingress and working with that community to have a way for NFTs to make sense in having digital ownership and digital asset ownership. And we're taking a phased approach to that rollout, which we might get a little bit more into the details of that later. And we did a successful launch in LA at the end of last year, around November, and then a subsequent launch in Yokohama, Japan, in at the Epiphany Dawn event there in December. Where we're going next, we're still figuring out the details again. The AR Web3 fun combination is still a work in progress, so we're discovering where we're going to next. And I'd like to shoot it over to David, who's going to give a high-level overview and some video images and talk a little bit about some of our experiments so far.
Cool. Thanks, Jackson. Everybody, I'm David. I'm one of the developers on the SpotX team, kind of focusing on the AR side of things. So basically, like Jackson was saying, the last year we have done a handful of different experiments kind of in the AR Web3 realm. You can see a few just screen recordings of prototypes here of just different concepts we've been playing around with, concepts all the way from NFT geodrops to having NFT player cards that get placed in the real world and kind of persist there, all the way even exploring NFT gaming and how can you use your NFT assets either in a new game, new IP, or in kind of an existing IP. So yeah, we've definitely learned AR is very tricky, right? AR is hard and Web3 is also hard, and they're both brand new technologies. And, you know, we haven't really seen a lot of like breakout applications to the success of like a level of Pigo yet that integrate Web3 and like a full scale AR. And obviously Niantic's working on some of these things behind the scenes, but it's been really exciting to kind of build these prototypes and explore. And unfortunately, most of these will probably never see the light of day, but just kind of the nature of what we do. So yeah, just looking through all of these, we have on the left kind of like a dodgeball prototype where you can use your PFP to actually interact with them in the real world. So this was like a dodgeball experiment. The next one over to the left was an NFT geodrop platform. So basically, think collecting NFTs in real life, and we had this cool AR experience where the NFTs would drop from a light ship. Then Chanel, could you actually play this video again? The third one over. Awesome. So this was kind of in accompaniment with the NFT trading post. The concept here was taking NFTs that you create and being able to leave them in real life as kind of like a calling card. And this other prototype was just a side project I was working on, like NFT gaming. So using your NFTs that you already have, so like Bored Apes, Cyberpunks, whatever, in kind of this like combat chess style game. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or find one of the SpotX team members. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for introducing SpotX Games. So once again, SpotX, they work on a lot of experimental research and prototypes, but now I'm really excited to introduce our premier partner from Subvrsive, Anthony Loren. He'll speak more to the marketing and brand aspect of Subvrsive. And I see, Hall, you have your hand up. Do you want to share something before we move on?
Yeah, there was one question from Declan that was, are these videos WebAR or app-based? To David.
Yeah, so these videos that were shown here were all app-based on our Lightship ARDK because we wanted a little bit more higher fidelity experience, but we are also experimenting on 8th Wall to do kind of more snackable, quick AR experiences with NFTs.
Awesome. Thank you for catching that question, Hall. Now I would love to introduce Anthony to give an introduction to Subvrsive.
Hey, everybody. I'm Anthony Loren, the VP of Engineering at Subvrsive. We are in a immersive innovation studio based out of Austin, Texas, though we have distributed teams across the country as I'm in Detroit, actually. So I run the engineering team over there. We do everything from AR, VR development, app-based, web-based, a lot of 3D webs, a lot of Babylon JS, 3JS, a lot of those front-end 3D kind of visual type elements, but we really love AR. We see AR as future. The year of AR is finally here, and you know, these are some of our work examples. Over on the left is a project we did for WPP, which is one of the largest marketing conglomerates in the world. We are now being brought under the WPP umbrella. So that was done for the Cannes Festival over in France. We will speak to that in a second on the next slide. There's another project example we did for James Hardie, which is one of the leading siding providers in the world. So this is for a trade show exhibit. As you can see through the demo video here, we allowed you to view different model homes, model types, view different trim, coloring options, and allow you to customize your home in real time, and then contact sales representatives for materials and siding and things like that you're interested in. And then the one on the bottom right was an experience we did for Volvo a few years back. So I'm hoping to speak to kind of some more of the market trends, what we were seeing from like client desires within the industry and everything like that, because I feel like that's something that developers don't get direct access to. There's a lot of things that sound great in theory or in isolation, but then when you put it into practice, there's a whole litany list of issues you have to solve for. So if we want to move to the next slide, I'll speak a little bit to our Cannes project experience. So you can go ahead and play the video. It's just a short video. So like I said, this was for the Cannes Festival over in France. This was for a executive shareholder stakeholder experience area. So what the experience is utilizing coasters that are placed throughout the area. You can scan any of the coasters. The QR code will bring you to the experience. So you scan it with your camera. You get brought to the endpoint. Then it uses the coaster as an image target to track the AR experience to it, allowing for more stable interaction. Sorry, the video isn't looping well. I'll probably just play it a few times. But allowing for a more stable interaction, tracking to an actual image target. Now, one thing I want to call out with this is, like I said, there's the practicality of implementing AR versus the ideal situation. So what you have to think through is all the edge cases here. Okay, this is for an executive area, which means there's going to be a lot of CEOs, a lot of executives, a lot of older clientele, for speaking honestly, that are using this. So you have to make it, kind of non-tech compliant. You have to make it flashy and be able to catch their eye and a lot of functionality, but you have to make it so they can't screw it up, because people get very frustrated and they won't understand the technology if they can't get it to work. So one of the ways we helped kind of solve for that issue is you're able to scan the coaster for image target tracking. We thought that would be the easiest way to, okay, you just point your phone at the coaster. It's intuitive, it makes sense. Now, a lot, as you guys may know, a lot of people like to look away. You see flashy visuals. Okay, you might move your phone around, you lose the image target tracking. So you have to design the UX in a way that allows that to stay in view and allows it, enables the user for the best user experience possible. So a fallback option we had was a tap to place mechanism. If the coaster couldn't be recognized within 5 seconds of the app launching, then we allowed a text prompt to come up that said, okay, well, you can scan an area and use tap to place instead. Because some users, whether it's lighting conditions, whether it's bad coaster, whether there might be water damage, something like that, they might not be able to get coaster work. Or we also want to have a take home experience. They're not going to have the coaster with them. So this allows a more another route to use if the image target tracking isn't working. Kind of allowing a fallback method, more or less. So this experience, speaking to the experience more instead of the design, the experience was done to shine a spotlight on several different agencies within WPP and the great work they do. These are all multi-billion-dollar marketing agencies, anybody from Ogilvy to Wunderman Thompson to a bunch of other agencies. So this is supposed to speak to, actually that was version 2.0, but this is version 1.0. This is speaking to the initiatives within WPP. So there's each one of the orbs that comes up. One is about inclusivity, one's about giving back to the environment and initiatives over there. It's about all these initiatives within WPP, so you can sort through and view in AR the different data graphs, different informational speakers and panels and things like that, that you can learn more about the initiatives within WPP. Now, one of the key elements that connects this to Web3 is a fractional NFT drop. So as a user within here, you have the ability to sign up. You're at the event. You can sign up to redeem a fractional NFT drop, which takes you through a workflow that's outside this app to claim it and then add it to your wallet. So that's why this seemed like a perfect project to highlight a little bit, talking about the intersection of Web3 and WebAR.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anthony, for that background. I think that now the audience members deeply understand the SpotX background as well as Subvrsive. So we can move into the panel questions. So we've curated a few questions based off the expertise of our panels. However, we will have Q&A later on. Please use the Slido link so that I can aggregate the questions and you guys can upload it and I don't lose your questions in the Zoom chat. However, once we've gone through the Slido questions, I will open anyone to review or from Zoom afterwards. So the very first question is going to go to Anthony from Subvrsive. What is your vision for the intersection of Web3 and WebAR?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to talk to this. To me, the first thing that pops into my mind is a little bit of, it's honestly John Hanke, the CEO of Niantic, kind of some of his metaverse vision that came out. When this metaverse craze started, all these top executive CEOs or people in the industry started pointing to things like Ready Player One, The Matrix, Snowcraft, these dystopian futures, and saying, yeah, let's build that. Isn't that cool? John Hanke was one that was saying like, whoa, let's, think about this a little bit. Like, don't we want to enhance the world around us, engage the world around us, and connect the physical to the digital instead of running and hiding from it, running and hiding from our problems? We can now enhance the world around us and educate people more about monuments, about environmental impacts, about the world around us, rather than just hiding into a virtual version of it. And that really stuck to me when you said that. So I really try to see the metaverse through that lens. It's not about creating a virtual world somewhere that people can look at in VR goggles. It's about interconnected experiences, connecting the physical to digital, connecting experiences across platforms, across companies even. So when we talked about the intersection of Web3 and WebAR, things like loyalty rewards across experiences. An example there is like, I was pulling out a brand name, Target.com. Like it would be, okay, being able to connect experiences across Target.com, then within the Target app too. Okay, maybe you have AR virtual try-on or AR view in your space furniture, so you can view AR features, maybe you gain rewards for doing that, or rewards for those purchases through the app, then through Target.com. Maybe there's a gamified AR Target experience where you can gain points and gain rewards. Maybe there's a Roblox build for Target somewhere where you can go in there and gain more rewards points. As you can see, Target now knows, okay, this user is, utilizing our products across everything. We should be able to reward them, track that, and reward their loyalty. So that to me seems like a perfect use case for blockchain within the WebAR space, being able to decentralize that. So we're not just signing off on all of our data, just going to, giant tech corporations, but being able to decentralize that a little bit with Web3. So gamified loyalty, utilizing blockchain. You can look at those games that are, they've been coming out for the last couple of years now, but rewarding crypto for gamified experiences, being able to connect all those together within a brand. To me, that is the intersection of WebAR, Web3.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I love your background and your insight in terms of like how this is going to really change business models moving forward. I would love to hear from SpotX about what you guys think deeper in the long term, maybe like 5, 10, 20 years from now about the intersection. Jackson or David, would love for you guys to chime in a little here.
Yeah, sure. I think at a high level, everything that Anthony's talking about is right. And when you're interacting in the world today where things aren't as focused on the augmented reality, you go to a coffee shop, you get your rewards card. Now, sometimes it's on your phone, but there's an ownership piece that's missing. And I think that where WebAR and Web3 are really going to combine forces is allowing people to have ownership over things that are digital the same way that they have ownership over like a CD or like a poster or a t-shirt. And that's going to give these digital experiences not only characteristics, but importance to the person in ways that we don't really see today. Because in Web 2, typically a company owns the data, or it's often some server somewhere, and the game might change the rules, or sometimes they're shut down, unfortunately. So there's all these things that can happen. But when the band breaks up, or they're no longer on Spotify, if you have that CD, you can still listen to it. I think it's those types of meaningful things that are going to come out of Web3 and AR and really make the two strong companion moving forward as they come into fruition and become more popular over the next 5 years.
You're on mute, Chanel.
Thank you so much. I love everything that you're saying and how you guys seem really aligned with what the future of Web3 and WebAR is going to be. And there seems like lots of possibilities, and we're just touching the surface of that. Moving on to more about the market demand, especially want to hear from Anthony about what is the market demand for WebAR and Web3. Maybe you can talk specifically about and maybe some experiences that you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, but first I'll speak a little bit to WebAR piece. It's AR has been catching on for a while, you all know. But the relevance and the emergence of WebAR made it really widespread lately. So brands are crazy for WebAR right now. They don't want people to download an app. They don't want to create that barrier of entry. They want to be able to have a user pop out their phone, scan a QR code, look at an image target, have something happen, and go, oh, wow, cool. Coca-Cola gets me, and then move on. They don't want a whole app-based gamified experience. They want these more, at least on the marketing side, the advertising side, they want more of these consumable tidbits, these interactive pieces, or the things that say, that are just easy to get to. Low barrier of entry is one of the main driving forces. So that's why WebAR is finally creating that low barrier of entry. So that's one of the biggest trends, is people moving away from app-based AR more into that. Now, okay, we can talk headset-based AR, things like that. That's another field, but we're talking about more ease of accessibility. When you talk Web3, the market's still trying to figure out exactly what that means for them. It's like, okay, there's a lot of NFTs at first. a lot of NFT drops. Every company is doing NFT drops, doing things with that. But they're trying to think, okay, well, what does Web3 mean? Maybe it's you can pay with cryptocurrency. Maybe you can earn cryptocurrency in the game. So there's experiments with that. But the market demand for the intersection of those, that's really the exciting area, and somewhere that Subvrsive's trying to lead. Something like that can experience I showed. That is the intersection of Web3 and WebAR. It's a informed of WebAR piece with a fractional NFT drop. Now, as these experiences get more robust, as brands understand their audiences and what people want out of those, I think you're going to see a lot more about rewards programs. Like I mentioned kind of up top, that is definitely a big part of driving brand adaptation of Web3, is how do we, not track users in the sense of track every move, but track users across our engagement platforms and reward them for that. So that's a big thing. They're starting to see the value of that and the drive and the want from that from their audiences. To me, that's really the next thing is brand loyalty. Maybe you include crypto, that kind of thing. But it's really about brand loyalty. Maybe it's NFT drops and things like that to reward users.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing specific examples. I would love to move towards the experimental and technology aspect now with SpotX. I'm going to skip this question. I'm going to go to this question. How can developers phase out of Web 2 and into Web 3?
Oh, was that to me or was that SpotX?
Sorry, SpotX, Jackson or David, either of you.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. And Jackson, I'd be curious to see what you think on this, but I don't think we're ever going to escape Web 2. I mean, we all would love this hypothetical world where everything is 100% decentralized, but just realistically, I don't think that's ever going to happen, So I think the future is some kind of, some people have said like Web 2.5 or whatever, but, kind of taking the best things of Web 2 and like decentralized fast servers that are reliable, but also having some items that are actually fully decentralized. I mean, artwork was like the great first example of NFTs, because it's like, yeah, people already know how to buy and sell art. That makes sense. And that being an NFT makes total sense. But what is going to be some next fields, like some people are saying gaming and stuff, where this kind of makes sense. But kind of no matter what industry you're going to, at some point, you need some kind of server to host a website, right? So that's never going to go away. But I think the high level of Web 3 is like, instead of traditional Web 2 of the companies own everything, it's okay, now me as a creator, me as a consumer, I'm actually going to own some of the stuff that I'm using in these web applications and these games.
Yeah, I heavily second that. Like this whole Web 2 versus Web 3. I don't know when Web 2 came around necessarily, because at some point there had been a Web 1, right? And whatever Web 1 was, where we draw that line, Web 2 probably still uses those rails, or still uses that technology in some ways. And I think Web 3 is always going to need to rely on Web 2, and you're going to have some stuff that you own, which is in Web 3 land, but the companies and the services, the people who are building the great experiences, a lot of those things are going to still exist in more of a Web 2 structure. So you'll be able to keep things and interact with these Web 2 platforms to kind of get the best of both worlds. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with David's sentiment on that one.
Thank you guys so much. We're going to move on to the next question. The last curated question. I'm going to pitch this over to Jackson or David as well. And then Anthony, would love for you to chime in after. How would you define digital scarcity in Web3, and how does WebAR fit into that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick this one off and then send it to David to get the WebAR pieces, because I think for myself in digital scarcity, it's like that CD, right? Or that t-shirt or that poster for that band you love or enjoy. But what's going to be cool about that is it's going to be beyond these static items, right? They're going to be able to change over time and maybe grow with you and move with you, but you still own it. And what's interesting is that scares, right? Like that CD or that t-shirt is unique to me, or my Coachella wristband, has some meaning. But then over time in Web3, you can have that wristband evolve and change over time based on maybe the places you've gone to. One of our experiences were like that at South by Southwest, where you got an NFT, or you went to do a bunch of experiences, and at the end you had an NFT that was unique to you based on your experiences. And David built some really cool artwork that, as you moved through Austin at South by Southwest, the end result artwork was going to change. And I think that there's some cool aspects of how things that you do in the real world that are unique to you, or there's only a limited supply of something, is going to impact that stuff you own digitally. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you think about like how WebAR specifically fits into that, David.
I mean, I think it's like really simple, right? Like we have all these NFTs, these digital items, that's cool. But being able to actually see them in AR and, you know, hypothetically like step into like your NFT is like, that's super cool. Like I see Chris from eMuse, he's on the chat right now, and they're building some really cool, like interactive music, art, visual pieces that you can literally like step into like a portal that kind of takes you to a different world. And so, I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff on OpenSea, but at the end of the day, that's just like a 2D screen. You know, what if you can actually step into the AR and step in to this new kind of world that NFTs enable?
Awesome. And wondering, Anthony, you don't have to answer, but wondering, how does that relate to brands and agencies?
You know, I really think it's something they're still trying to figure out. I mean, if you, I would say if you were to say the phrase digital scarcity to brands, 99% of them wouldn't know what you're talking about. You know, it's inherently something that's built into most cryptocurrencies and things like that. So I think it's trying to figure out, okay, well, can we do, you know, rare NFT drops, or do we do something with like, you know, limited value run that will then drive up that resource? How does it fit within WebAR? You know, that's a great question. I think it's to be seen. I don't think anybody's really proven that out quite yet. You know, there was a comment or a question in the chat asking about if anybody's sold AR NFTs yet. You know, that seems like something that like an area that this could intersect. But it's really like, what's going to be that market demand? Is there going to be market demand for that kind of thing? If not, then that might not be the direction things go. So yeah, I would say this is something that's a little further out, and yeah, still a lot of room to be worked on.
Amazing. Thank you guys for that. We have lots of questions in Slido, so I'm going to call out some of the most ones that have been uploaded. But please, if you guys haven't hit up Slido yet, you can take your phones out and scan this QR code. I will also drop the link in the chat again. But I have this question that I think is really interesting, and I think a lot of people are curious about as well. So I would like to pitch this to Anthony and then love for David or Jackson to answer afterwards. Are there considerations you take to make sure your brand experiences are meaningful and delightful and doesn't add to the list of cringe corporate uses of new tech?
That's a great question. You know, without selling Subvrsive as a brand here, I would say that's one of the things we do very well. And one of the reasons, you know, like basically when that metaverse craze exploded, there was, you know, thousands of companies that branded themselves as a metaverse company. Subvrsive never branded ourselves as a metaverse company. We branded ourselves as an immersive innovation company that does Web3 and everything like that. And that's why at the, you know, now we're in the dip of the metaverse craze. That's why Subvrsive's brand is just going up and up, because our clients during the explosion of interest saw us as the ones asking the right questions, asking the, okay, that's cool that you want to use this technology, but why? Why is that going to drive meaning to your brand or to your customers? You know, and we're the ones challenging them on that instead of being like, yeah, give us your money. So that, you know, to be honest, that led to a couple deals not going through, but the ones that did, those are the ones that are coming back for more and more now, because they saw that we wanted to create that meaningful brand experience. You know, that is something that is, at the end of the day, you're kind of hamstrung a bit by your client. You know, if the client doesn't care about the meaningfulness, or if there's somebody that was put in a position that they just have to fit out metaverse experiences, maybe they're just going to be pushing it through and they don't care about what you say. That's where, as a brand like Subvrsive, you have to decide, well, is that the right customer, the right client for us, or do we want to move something where we can have more impact? And I mean, at the end of the day, it's really where you sit financially and that to where you can make that kind of decision.
Thank you so much for that. I love how you're talking about like having a true value and utility to the experiences you're building. Would love to hear from Jackson or David if they want to add on to how can brands, companies utilize this new technology without just utilizing it to utilize it.
Yeah, I think it's a hard question because it is really new technology, and you have to just know your community. You have to understand the values of the people who you're building for. And that's one of the reasons our team exists within Niantic. We work very closely with the games teams and the different platform teams to understand, why did they build this thing? Why does it work this way? Why is this thing popular in this particular game? And then with our knowledge of the tool set, we can figure out ways to craft things that are meaningful. And it's an ongoing process for us and our team. So I think it's not something like easy to do, but the key metric for us has been, how do the people that this is for interact with this, and getting their feedback as soon as possible is like having it be a part of the conversation. So about the community. So that's where I think you can really, that's the best advice I can give, is make sure that you know the people you're building this for well.
Awesome, thank you. I love how you said get it in front of them, test it, get feedback right away. Would love to pitch this question to, next question to Jackson or David. For developers who are just getting started in Web3 and WebAR, what technologies would you first recommend them to start using and learning?
Ooh, that's a great question. Obviously on the AR side, you guys probably all know this, but Niantic is building a great web platform, 8Talks, and Niantic's also building a great Lightchip SDK for native apps. So kind of picking which platform you want to focus on, and obviously each one has pros and cons. The Web3 is a very interesting space right now because there's new tools popping up all the time. Like when me and Jackson first started in Web3, like you had to learn Solidity and you had to program smart contracts. That was the only way. But now you can literally go on websites and just upload a picture and mint NFTs. So, I think in the future, and we're already starting to do this, is leverage these tools, like these no-code solutions that kind of let you build prototypes fast. And, if and when it makes sense to spin up your own backend and spit up your own smart contracts, like do it, but definitely don't be afraid to leverage the easy solutions, right?
Speaking to some specific languages or frameworks, something that I specifically look for a lot is 3JS developers. That's something that doesn't exist a whole lot out there, but especially being in 3D web, then 8Talks utilizing A-Frame and Babylon JS. So a lot of those front end 3D web languages are becoming more popular, and whether or not they're used directly within 8Talks and then supporting environments around it, they're used out quite often.
Thank you guys for that answer. I hope that some of you who are interested try out 8Talks. We have a 14-day free trial, so you can test it out and see if it's right for you. I do have a question here. Some people are curious about licensing. So we have several pricing plans. And for those who are more indie developers, you do not need a commercial license like big brands like or premier partners like Subvrsive have. A starter plan or plus plan is enough for you because that includes unlimited views. So definitely there are different tiers and you can always scale up afterwards to meet your needs. Happy to direct you guys to the 8Talks Dev Slack if you have more questions about pricing and some of our plans. I have this next question. I'll punt it to Anthony, but I think that afterwards, Jackson and David, you can answer. Okay, so what's the most kind of difficult, well, I guess when using a mobile browser, there's some difficulty when preparing 3D assets. What are some recommendations that you have, Anthony, for developers who are encountering these challenges?
Oh man. I mean, I'm going to name the the obvious things right off, right? Like poly count, number one, textures, materials, of course, all of that play into largely, you know, anything like reflective materials, things like that take a lot more computational power. Shadows, which is now something, you know, 8Talks supports, which is wonderful. As you saw in our WQP experience, those orbs that came around all have shadows under them. There's ways to do shadows and dynamic lighting. It is intensive though, so you have to do it the right way. A lot of times it's easier to fake shadows. I'm pretty sure those were probably faked rather than real lighting shadows. But you can lean into areas of that to kind of like, you know, just throw the veil over the user, not give them the full preview of what's going on. Okay, it looks like there's shadows. Wow, that's great. But in reality, it's just animated, you know, dark circles under orbs. So I'd say lean into tricks like that. There's a lot of like rendering tricks and things like that that you can lean into. Shaders are huge. Shaders are difficult in web. They're getting better and better. But you can do some real magic with shaders that you can't do with 3D models or do through programming. So shader development is another area that I think, you know, hopefully 8Talks leaning into more and more supported. But I think these guys can probably give some more intricate answers to that too.
Jackson or David, do you have anything to add on to that, or did Anthony cover it very well?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would add, Ian from the 8Talks team, I just posted this in the chat, but he did a great, like, quick little 3-minute YouTube video on some optimization tips that can really get you pretty far. So check that out.
Awesome. And then this is going to be the last audience question as we wrap up, and it's kind of going towards the AI tools part of WebAR. And I'll punt this over to Jackson or David first. Where do you see generative AI art in the WebAR space? And then Thomas, I'm going to let you answer after Jackson and David.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I think there's so much creativity in the generative space, right? Like learning how to take these ideas and words and texts and prompts and then create assets. And I want to just double down on the answer from before about who is this for? Like when you're using AI to create things, I'd say it's just like every other experience, right? Like it needs to be meaningful to someone, it needs to be meaningful to you. And I think it's going to be a great tool, just like Web3 is a great tool, just like WebAR is a great tool. But like Anthony mentioned with his clients, right? Like these things have to make sense for the client. You can't just say, oh, let's slap, you know, Web3 on it and or an NFT and it's good to go. So the AI revolution, I think, is going to enable more people to be creative. I think we're going to see some really great things. There's some stuff like scenario GG where you can make, you know, great game items and stuff, but you still got to make a great game for those items to be in. So I think we're going to see a lot more people who couldn't, you know, compete before or couldn't build things before, get into the space and build some really things that are going to push the creativity across the board. So that's what I think it's going to happen is you're going to see more people build great things because now more people can come in and contribute.
Thank you. And Thomas, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so it's actually a really interesting question because Earth MMO, we're using some generative art for some of our items in our game right now for our next experience too. So, you know, we're not necessarily doing it as a complete stopgap for all our art. We're just doing it right now because we want to iterate really quickly on our experience, and being able to take an idea of like an asset and turn around, you know, almost instantly is a great resource for short, you know, period development when you only have a few weeks or a month and you want to get something out the door to get there. So you'll actually, if you'll be playing Earth MMO at South by Southwest or during that time period, you'll be seeing some of our generative art in our AR experience. So
awesome. That's very, very cool.
I can add on a bit to that as well. Like we're planning on building really like a global scale game. Like it's going to be pretty ambitious. So we really do envision like a small team like ourselves isn't going to be able to build all the content ourselves. So we need to kind of like lean on these things like generative art. That's one. maybe like a decentralized MMO. So like letting players build their own content for it. These kinds of things are really the only way we're going to actually reach like a global scale of content that we're aiming for as our vision. And I'd also like to like at least add some awareness that like this stuff does affect artists, and it is like important that artists feel like they can, you know, still like their work is being appreciated. They aren't being replaced. Like their work is all crucial for training these systems. So I really appreciate tools like I think I saw on Twitter the other day, like stable attribution. It's like some tool that lets you find like which artists contributed to the style of the images that you're generating, and then like possibly Web3 could be used to like give royalties whenever someone like generates an image and it's using styles like images trained from other people. So I really think that's important that, you know,
thank you.
As we go forward,
give Anthony time to wrap up and talk about that. If his agency or brands may consider using some of these AI tools for development.
Yeah, so they're definitely used. You know, I would say currently right now, a lot of it is mood boarding, idea generation. You know, if anybody's been part of that creative process prior to this, it's been a lot of, well, let's grab images from the web, assemble them on a board, and like try to convey this idea to these executive stakeholders. Well, now you're able to go out and generate a whole entire user journeys and whole environments and art styles and be able to represent what you're trying to communicate. So you're able to get the idea across, which you're able to sell the idea in, leading to more work. I would say that's one of the biggest areas right now. As this area becomes more refined and legal things get worked out, you know, right now it's like, okay, it's open source, everybody has ownership. We'll see if that stays, you know. So I think people are afraid to jump into too much or build entire infrastructures around it before, you know, legal rulings are made. But it will eventually be able to generate, you know, content that you can use directly in apps. I'm very, you know, I'm a skeptic on any new technology that claims to just be, you know, revolutionary. So any of these like 3D model AI generated models right now, there's some that kind of work. A lot of them can't really be rigged. A lot of them are very texture, polygon count heavy, or don't look great. It's very new, so that space will grow a lot. But I would say right now it's a lot of the preliminary work, and you're not using a lot for the actual practical, you know, coding or asset integration creating, but that will change as the tools advance, but as the legality gets worked out too. You know, as developers, a lot of times we get excited about the technology, but we forget about some of the pieces of legal usage and ownership and things like that.
Thank you for touching on that. That's something I think we can kind of take as we wrap up this talk. We've a little bit over time, but I want to let you guys know that right here are the social handles of Subvrsive and SpotX, and then we previously shared Earth MMO. I will drop them again in the chat, but please follow them, stay connected with their next projects that may feature Web3 and WebAR. Want to let you guys know that we have some events coming up. Please look at our Dev Slack announcement channel where you'll find how to RSVP for these events. And then we have a survey where we're giving out Amazon gift cards to 2 random winners or participants by March 1st. So please take out your phones. It's only 4 questions and you can possibly win an Amazon gift card. I'm gonna stay online, but thank you guys so much for attending. And thank you all of our speakers, Earth MMO, SpotX, and Subvrsive, and hope to see you guys at our next event. Thank you.